Part 1. The lecture hall buzzed with strange sounds. Clicks, whistles, and humming noises filled the air as students from 200 different alien species settled into their seats. Some floated in special tanks. Others clung to the walls with sticky appendages. A few glowed softly in the dim light. Professor Velnash stood at the center of the room. The professor was tall and made entirely of crystal that caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. When Velnash spoke, every student heard the words in their own language through tiny devices in their ears. The professor touched a control panel, and a hologram appeared above the stage. It showed a planet spinning slowly in space. The planet was mostly blue and green with white swirls covering parts of it. Several students gasped when they saw it. Some moved backward in their seats. A few made alarmed noises that their translators struggled to interpret. "This is Earth," Professor Velnash announced. The crystal body rang like a bell with each word. "It is what we call a Class 12 death world. These are planets where life should not exist. They are too dangerous, too hostile, too deadly." The hologram zoomed closer to show details of the planet's surface. Mountains that reached into the sky. Oceans that stretched beyond sight. Storms that swirled with violence. "The gravity on this planet is very strong," the professor continued. "Most of you would be crushed under your own weight if you stood on its surface. The air contains oxygen at 21%. This gas is highly reactive. It would burn through your lungs if you tried to breathe it." A student raised a tentacle nervously. The translator identified her as a Metherian from a world covered in gentle methane seas. "Professor, surely nothing lives there." Professor Velnash made a sound like wind chimes. It was the crystalline equivalent of a laugh. "On the contrary, Earth has millions of species, each one adapted to survive what we would consider nightmare conditions." The hologram changed to show Earth's creatures. A bear standing on its back legs, a shark cutting through water, a pack of wolves running across snow, an elephant trumpeting at the sky. "These are just a few examples," Velnash explained. "Some of these creatures can run for hours without stopping. Others have jaws strong enough to crush metal. Many have venom that can kill in minutes. The planet itself seems designed to create the most efficient killers possible." The students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some wrapped protective appendages around themselves. Others activated personal shields. "But the most interesting species," the professor said, pulling up a new image, "is the dominant one. They call themselves humans." The hologram showed humans doing various activities. Running, climbing, swimming, building, fighting. "Humans are persistence hunters," Velnash explained. "They evolved by chasing their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They can run for hours, days even. Their bodies cool themselves through a unique system of sweating that allows them to continue long after other predators must stop." A Kalari student spoke up. Her voice stalks trembled as the translator conveyed her words. "Are they dangerous to us?" Professor Velnash paused before answering. "Extremely. But not in the way you might think. Humans are not naturally aggressive toward other sentient species. However, their capabilities are formidable. They have a threat response system that floods their bodies with performance-enhancing chemicals when they sense danger. This makes them faster, stronger, and more resistant to pain." The professor pulled up medical diagrams showing human anatomy. "Look at their structure. They have redundant systems throughout their bodies. If one lung is damaged, they can survive on the other. They have excessive bone density compared to their size. Their healing factor allows them to recover from injuries that would kill most species." Another image appeared showing human history. Cave paintings of hunts, ancient battles, modern warfare. "They have been fighting and killing since they first developed intelligence," Velnash said. "They fight predators. They fight their environment. Most troubling, they fight each other. Their entire civilization is built on a foundation of conflict and survival." The lecture hall had gone very quiet. Even the students who naturally made constant noise had fallen silent. "Their psychology reflects their violent origins," the professor continued. "They have paranoia built into their thinking. They see threats everywhere because on their world, threats are everywhere. They plan for worst-case scenarios constantly. This makes them excellent strategists but also unpredictable." A brave Xinthian student spoke up. His species prided themselves on logic and reason. "Professor, you said they achieved sentience despite these conditions. How advanced is their technology?" "Primitive by our standards," Velnash replied. "They have only recently developed nuclear power." They have sent a few spacecraft beyond their planet, but nothing close to faster-than-light travel. However, the speed of their advancement is alarming. They went from basic flight to landing on their moon in only 66 years. The professor pulled up more images. Rockets launching. Space stations. Rovers on Mars. They explore, Velnash said quietly. Even when it is dangerous. Even when it might kill them. They send missions to the most hostile places they can find just to see what is there. They dive to the deepest parts of their oceans in vessels that could implode at any moment. They climb their highest mountains where the air is too thin to breathe. They do these things not because they need to, but because they want to. A small student near the front made a whimpering sound. Why would anyone do that? Because they are from a death world, the professor answered. Danger does not stop them. It motivates them. They have a saying on Earth, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. They actually believe this. They seek out difficult experiences to grow from them. The hologram shifted again to show more disturbing images. Humans running through fire. Humans diving with sharks. Humans jumping from aircraft. Humans climbing vertical cliffs without ropes. They engage in what they call extreme sports, Velnash explained. Activities that could easily kill them, but which they do for entertainment. They intentionally put themselves in danger for the thrill of it. A Polarian student's bioluminescent patterns flashed with confusion. This makes no sense. Why would a species deliberately risk death? Because they are adrenaline seekers, the professor said. The same threat response that helps them survive also creates pleasurable sensations. They become addicted to their own fear response. Some humans actively seek out experiences that trigger this response. The professor paused to let this information settle over the class. The students looked disturbed. Some were clearly reconsidering their career choices in xenobiology. Earth remains under observation status, Velnash continued. The Galactic Council has strict protocols about contact with humans. They are classified as pre-contact. We watch them, but we do not interact. The concern is that if they develop faster-than-light travel before they develop peaceful tendencies, they could be a threat to the entire galaxy. Another image appeared. This one showed human art, music, literature, and architecture. However, the professor added, they are not simply violent animals. They create beauty. They make music. They write poetry and stories. They build monuments that last thousands of years. They are capable of great compassion alongside their capacity for violence. They are walking contradictions. A student in the middle rows raised an appendage. Professor, what would happen if we encountered a human? Hopefully you would not, Velnash replied. But if you did, the protocol is to remain calm, avoid sudden movements, and contact authorities immediately. Humans respond to perceived threats with aggression. If you appear non-threatening, they are likely to be curious rather than hostile. The professor pulled up one final image. It showed Earth from space with a red warning symbol overlaid on it. Earth is one of the most dangerous planets in the known galaxy, Velnash said. Not because of its environment alone, but because of what that environment created. Humans are survivors. They are adapters. They are warriors and poets and explorers all at once. They are fascinating and terrifying in equal measure. The lecture hall remained silent as students absorbed this information. Many looked scared. Others looked fascinated. All of them looked uncomfortable. In the back row, Katie Morrison sat very still. She had been attending the Galactic Academy for 3 months now. She had made a few friends. She had studied hard. She had tried not to draw attention to herself. But now, listening to her own species being described like monsters from a nightmare, she felt something stirring inside her. It was partly pride, partly defensiveness, partly amusement at how terrified everyone looked. She had not meant to hide what she was. The admissions office knew she was human. She had assumed everyone else knew too. But apparently someone had made a mistake. The other students had no idea there was a human sitting among them. Katie glanced around the lecture hall. Every student was focused on the hologram. No one was looking at her. She could stay quiet. Let the lecture end. Slip away before anyone realized. But that felt wrong somehow. These were her classmates. Her friends, some of them. They deserved to know the truth. Besides, the professor was making humans sound like mindless killing machines. Someone needed to provide context. Someone needed to explain that humans were more than just scary Deathworld predators. On part 2, the panic happened instantly. The Matharian student released a cloud of defensive chemicals that smelled like rotten eggs. 3 Kalari cadets activated their personal shields with high-pitched whining sounds. Several flying species near the exits launched themselves toward the ceiling vents. The Krillian student who had been sitting next to Katie scrambled backward so fast that he tumbled over 2 rows of seats. His crystalline body made crashing sounds as he rolled. Students were shouting in dozens of languages. The translators could not keep up. Some beings were trying to leave through exits that were suddenly jammed with bodies. Others were calling for security on their communication devices. "Everyone stop." Professor Velnash's voice cut through the noise like a crystal bell. The sound was so commanding that students froze mid-panic. "Nobody is in danger. Please return to your seats immediately." Slowly, reluctantly, the students settled down, but none of them took their eyes off Katie. She stood very still with her hands raised in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Cadet Morrison," the professor said carefully. "Perhaps you should explain yourself." Katie nodded. She spoke slowly and clearly so the translators would not miss anything. "My name is Katie Morrison. I am human. I am from Earth. I have been studying at this academy for 3 months." A wave of confused sounds rippled through the hall. A Xynthian student who prided himself on logic spoke up. His voice shook slightly. "That is impossible. There are no humans registered in the Academy database. Earth is a pre-contact world. Humans are not part of the galactic community." "Technically true," Katie agreed. "But there was an incident 6 months ago. A survey ship crashed on Earth in a place called Colorado. It was winter there, very cold. The crew would have died without help." She paused to let the translators catch up. Every student was listening now. Even their biological functions seemed quieter as they focused on her words. "Some humans found the crash site," Katie continued. "We brought the crew down from the mountains. We gave them shelter. We treated their injuries. We kept them alive until their rescue ship arrived. We saved their lives." Professor Velnash made a chiming sound of recognition. "The Zelnar survey team. There was a report about that incident, but it said the rescue was performed by indigenous life forms, not sentient beings. The crew thought we were just animals at first," Katie explained with a slight smile. "We were wearing heavy winter gear. Thick coats, face masks, gloves. We could not communicate because we did not have translators. But after a few days they figured out we were intelligent. And after some discussion they offered a few of us a chance to study here." A Polarian student's glow patterns flickered with skepticism. "They just invited you?" "Humans from a pre-contact world. The Galactic Council approved it," Katie said. Quietly. "They did not want to make a big announcement until Earth officially developed faster-than-light travel on our own. But they agreed that a small cultural exchange would be beneficial. 5 humans were selected. We were told to keep a low profile." "5?" Professor Velnash repeated. "There are 4 other humans here?" "Greg is in engineering," Katie said. "Amy studies astrogation. Carlos is in xenolinguistics. Lisa is doing quantum mechanics. We have all been here for 3 months. We attend classes, we study. We try not to cause problems." The Krillian student who had fallen over earlier raised a shaking appendage. "But you are from a death world. You are dangerous. Why are you here with us?" Katie felt a flash of hurt at the fear in his voice. But she pushed it down. She could not blame them for being scared. The professor had just spent an hour describing humans as terrifying predators. "I am here for the same reason all of you are here," Katie said gently. "I want to learn about other species, other worlds, other ways of life. Most humans are curious about the universe. We want to understand it. We want to be part of it." A brave Kalari student spoke up. Her voice stalks trembled, but she pushed forward with her question. "The professor said your species is violent, aggressive, that you fight and kill. How do we know you will not hurt us?" Katie met the student's eyes steadily. "Because I have no reason to hurt you. None of you are threatening me. None of you are my prey. Humans can be violent, yes, but we are not mindlessly violent. We do not attack without cause." She gestured around the lecture hall. "I have been sitting in this room with all of you for 3 months. Have I hurt anyone? Have I threatened anyone? Have I done anything to make you afraid?" The students looked at each other uncertainly. Some shook their heads. Others made negative sounds. "You look so small," a student said from somewhere in the middle rows. "So soft. The professor made humans sound like terrible predators, but you just look like another student." Katie allowed herself a small laugh. Several students flinched at the sound, but she continued. "That is actually part of how humans used to hunt. We do not look dangerous. Our prey would not run from us immediately, because we did not seem like a threat. By the time they realized we were hunting them, it was too late. She paused, realizing that probably was not helping. But that was thousands of years ago. Modern humans do not hunt like that anymore. We have agriculture now, technology. Most humans have never hunted anything in their lives. Professor Velnash's crystalline structure pulsed with thought. Cadet Morrison, this is highly irregular. But perhaps it is also an opportunity. Would you be willing to answer questions from your classmates? To provide context for the information I presented?
Katie nodded.
Of course. I would be happy to. Very well, the professor said. Class, you may ask questions, but please maintain respect. Cadet Morrison is your fellow student, not a specimen to be examined. A long moment of silence followed. Then a Zenthari student raised a claw hesitantly. The professor said humans are persistence hunters. Can you explain what that means in practice? Katie thought about how to describe it. Ancient humans would select prey, usually something fast like a deer or antelope. The animal would run away. Humans would follow. The animal would run again. Humans would keep following. This would continue for hours, sometimes days. Eventually, the prey would be too exhausted to run anymore. Then humans would catch it. Disturbed sounds filled the hall again. I know it sounds cruel, Katie said quickly, but it was survival. Humans were not the strongest or fastest, but we could outlast almost anything. That endurance is still part of us. Modern humans run marathons for fun. Some people run ultramarathons that last for days. Voluntarily, someone asked in disbelief. Voluntarily, Katie confirmed. We push ourselves to see what we are capable of. It is how we grow. A Matharian student asked the next question. The professor said you consume toxins for recreation. Is that true? Katie winced. Yes, humans drink alcohol, which is ethanol. It is technically a poison, but in small amounts it makes us feel relaxed and social. We also eat spicy foods that contain capsaicin. This chemical triggers pain receptors, but many humans enjoy the sensation. You enjoy pain? The Matharian sounded horrified. Not exactly, Katie tried to explain. The capsaicin triggers endorphins. These are chemicals that make us feel good. So even though it hurts, it also feels good. It is complicated. A Polarian student spoke up. I have been researching Earth during this conversation. Your species has survived multiple extinction events, ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts. How is this possible? Katie shrugged, forgetting for a moment that the gesture might not translate. Humans are adaptable. When the environment changes, we change with it. We learned to make fire to stay warm. We invented tools to hunt better. We developed agriculture to have steady food. We built shelters to protect ourselves. We are not specialized for any one environment. That means we can survive in almost any environment. Professor Velnash pulled up the map of Earth again. It showed human settlements across every continent. Humans live in frozen wastelands where temperatures reach minus 50 degrees. They live in deserts where temperatures exceed 50 degrees. They live at high altitudes where oxygen is scarce. They have colonized nearly every habitable zone on their planet. And some uninhabitable zones, Katie added. We have research stations in Antarctica, where temperatures can drop to minus 80 degrees. People choose to live there to study the environment. A student made a choking sound. Choose? They volunteer to go to the most hostile place on an already hostile planet? Scientists do, Katie said. They study ice cores that tell us about Earth's history. They study astronomy because the air is so clear. They study biology to see what can survive in extreme cold. The knowledge is worth the risk. The small mouse-like student from the skittish collective raised a tiny paw. Are all humans as calm about danger as you are? Katie considered this carefully. I think I am fairly average. Some humans are more cautious, but some humans jump out of aircraft for fun. Some dive with sharks. Some climb mountains without safety equipment. Some chase tornadoes to study them. Some go into space knowing they might never come back. The mouse creature fainted. Several students nearby caught it and laid it gently on a seat. Is it okay? Katie asked with concern. Fainting is a defense mechanism for their species, Professor Velnash explained. It will recover. Please continue. A Kalari student asked, what about your predators? What hunts humans? Part 3, the remaining class time transformed into something nobody had expected. Students who had been terrified minutes ago now leaned forward with curiosity. Questions came faster than Katie could answer them. Professor Velnash had to call for order several times. A Polarian student raised a glowing appendage. You said humans evolved as hunters, but you also said you create art and music. How can a predator species be creative? Katie smiled at the question. Being a predator and being creative are not opposites. Humans needed creativity to survive. We had to invent tools, design traps, plan hunts, create shelter. Our intelligence developed because we needed to outsmart our prey and our predators. That same intelligence also lets us make beautiful things. She pulled out her personal device and projected some images into the air. Paintings from Earth museums, sculptures from ancient civilizations, architecture from different cultures, music from various time periods. This is the Sistine Chapel ceiling, Katie said, showing a famous painting. A human named Michelangelo painted it over 500 years ago. He lay on his back on scaffolding for 4 years to complete it. That is very uncomfortable, but he did it because he wanted to create something beautiful. The students stared at the intricate artwork. Some made appreciative sounds. Others seemed confused. Your species values beauty? Azinthian asked. Even though you live in a hostile environment? Especially because we live in a hostile environment, Katie replied. When life is hard, beauty gives us hope. It reminds us that there is more to existence than just survival. Music, art, stories, poetry, these things make us human. She showed them more images. The pyramids of Egypt, the Great Wall of China, modern skyscrapers, ancient temples. We build things that last, Katie explained. We want to leave something behind for future generations. We want to be remembered. That drive has led us to create amazing things. A Kalari student spoke hesitantly. But you also said humans fight each other. If you can create such beauty, why do you also destroy? Katie felt the weight of that question. It was something humans themselves struggled to answer. That is the contradiction of humanity. We are capable of great love and great hate, great creation and great destruction. Sometimes the same human can do both. We are complicated beings, she paused before continuing. But I think most humans want to do good. We want to help each other. We want to make the world better. Our history has violence in it, yes. But it also has countless acts of kindness. Strangers helping strangers. People sacrificing themselves to save others. Communities coming together in times of crisis. Professor Velnash chimed in. You mentioned sacrifice. Is it true that humans will risk their lives for others? Even strangers? Yes, Katie said simply. We have firefighters who run into burning buildings to save people. We have lifeguards who dive into dangerous waters to rescue swimmers. We have doctors who treat deadly diseases knowing they might get infected. We have people who donate organs to strangers. Sacrifice for others is considered noble in human culture. The students absorbed this information quietly. Azanthari spoke up. That does not make sense from a survival perspective. Why would you risk your own life for someone else? Katie thought about how to explain empathy to beings who might not feel it the same way. Because we are social creatures. We form bonds with others. We feel their pain. When someone we care about is in danger, our instinct is to help. And for many humans, that instinct extends even to strangers. We call it compassion. Compassion, the Zenthari repeated slowly. The ability to feel concern for others. Exactly, Katie confirmed. It is one of the things that makes us human. We are not just violent predators. We are also caring, loving beings who want to protect those around us. A Matharian student asked, What about your families? How do humans raise their young? Katie brightened at the question. Human children are very vulnerable when they are born. They cannot walk or feed themselves. They need constant care for years, so we form family units to raise them, usually parents but also grandparents, aunts, uncles, older siblings. The whole family works together to keep the children safe and teach them what they need to know. She pulled up a photo from her personal device. It showed her family on a hiking trip. Her parents, her brother Jake, her little sister Emma, and herself. They were all smiling at the camera. This is my family, Katie said softly. I miss them a lot. But they supported my decision to come here. They wanted me to have this opportunity to learn about other species and cultures. Several students made sympathetic sounds. Family was something most species understood. Your young require years of care? A Kalari asked. That is a significant investment. It is, Katie agreed. Human children need about 18 years before they are considered adults. Some need even longer, but we do it because we love them. Because they are our future. Because seeing them grow and learn and become good people makes all the effort worth it. A student in the back asked, "What makes a good person in human culture?" Katie considered the question carefully. That varies depending on the culture. But generally, humans value kindness, honesty, courage, and compassion. We admire people who help others, who stand up for what is right, who create things that benefit everyone, who make the world a little bit better than they found it. Professor Velnash made a thoughtful chiming sound. So despite coming from a death world, humans have developed a moral framework based on cooperation and kindness. We had to, Katie explained. Humans are not very strong individually. A lone human in the wilderness has a hard time surviving. But together, humans are incredibly powerful. We learned early that cooperation was essential. We formed tribes, villages, cities, nations. Working together made us stronger. She gestured around the lecture hall. That is why I am here. Humans spent thousands of years fighting each other because we did not understand our differences. Now we are learning to work together. And when we discovered we were not alone in the universe, most humans were excited. We want to cooperate with other species too. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. A Pelarian student glowed with interest. You mentioned culture varies among humans. What does that mean? Humans developed in different environments across Earth, Katie explained. This led to different languages, customs, beliefs, and traditions. We have thousands of distinct cultures, different foods, music, art, religions, ways of life. This diversity makes humanity richer, but it also led to conflicts in the past. She showed images of different human cultures, Japanese tea ceremonies, African dances, Indian festivals, European architecture, South American traditions. We are learning to appreciate our differences instead of fearing them, Katie said. It is a process. We are not perfect, but we are trying to do better. A Xinthian student spoke up. The professor said Earth has extreme weather. Can you describe what that is like? Katie pulled up weather imagery from Earth. Hurricanes swirling over oceans, tornadoes touching down on plains, lightning storms illuminating the sky, blizzards burying entire cities in snow. Earth's weather can be violent, Katie admitted. Hurricanes have winds over 300 kilometers per hour. Tornadoes can destroy entire neighborhoods in minutes. Lightning strikes kill people every year. Blizzards can trap people in their homes for days. The students made alarmed noises, but humans have adapted. Katie continued. We build structures designed to withstand high winds. We have warning systems that tell us when dangerous weather is coming. We have emergency plans. We learn to respect nature's power while still living our lives. You choose to live in places where this weather occurs? Someone asked. Most of Earth experiences extreme weather sometimes, Katie said. If we avoided every dangerous place, we would have nowhere to live. So we adapt. We prepare. We accept that some risk is part of life. A brave Kalari asked, "What is the most dangerous thing you personally have experienced?" Katie thought back through her memories. Probably whitewater rafting in Colorado. That is where you ride a small boat down a river with rapids. The water moves very fast. The boat can flip over. You can get thrown into rocks. But it is also exhilarating. The rush of adrenaline. The teamwork required. The sense of accomplishment when you make it through. That is very human. We turn danger into entertainment. The students looked disturbed and fascinated in equal measure. Or maybe the time I went hiking and a bear got into our campsite. Katie added. That was scary. We had to make loud noises and look big to scare it away. It worked, thankfully. The bear left without hurting anyone. You confronted an apex predator? A Xanthari asked in disbelief. We did not really have a choice, Katie said. Running from a bear is a bad idea. They are faster than humans, so we had to stand our ground and convince it we were not worth the trouble. Humans are good at bluffing. Professor Velnash spoke up. I think we are getting a clearer picture now. Humans are risk-takers but not reckless. You assess danger and respond appropriately. You use intelligence to overcome physical limitations. That is accurate, Katie agreed. Humans are not the biggest or strongest or fastest, but we are clever. We plan ahead. We work together. We create tools. We learn from our mistakes. That is how we survived. After most students left the lecture hall, a small group remained behind. They gathered near the front where Katie stood with Professor Velnash. The group included the Xanthari student who had asked many questions, 2 Kalari, a Pelarian, and the Krillian who had fallen over the seats earlier. The Xanthari stepped forward first. He extended a crystalline appendage in greeting. Katie remembered learning that this was how his species showed respect. She carefully reached out and touched the appendage with her hand. It felt cool and smooth like polished glass. "Cadet Morrison," the Zenthari said. "My name is Vex. I want to apologize for our initial reaction. We were frightened by incomplete information. That was unfair to you." Katie shook her head. "You do not need to apologize." The professor presented Earth as a terrifying place. "Your fear was reasonable. I am just glad we could talk about it." One of the Kalari spoke up timidly. Her voice stalks trembled as she spoke. "I am Shira. I was the one who asked if you were here to conquer the galaxy." "I am sorry for that. It was rude." "No, it was honest," Katie replied gently. "You were worried about your people. That is natural. Any species would have the same concern, but I promise most humans just want to be friends with other species. We want to learn from you and share what we know." The Polarian's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with curiosity. "My name is Lux. I have been researching human culture since the lecture ended. Your species has so many different forms of art and music. Why is creativity so important to humans?" Katie thought about how to explain it. "Because art and music let us express feelings that we cannot put into words. They let us connect with each other across time and distance. A painting from 1,000 years ago can still make us feel something today. A song can make strangers feel like friends. Creativity is how we share our inner selves with the world." "That is beautiful," Lux said softly. The Polarian's glow brightened with what Katie was learning to recognize as happiness. "I would like to experience human art sometime, if you would be willing to share." "I would love that," Katie said with genuine enthusiasm. "I have music and images saved on my device. We could set up a viewing session if you are interested." The Krillian student spoke next. His crystalline body made musical sounds as he moved. "I am Crix. I apologize for falling over the seats." I was startled. "You do not seem frightening now that we have talked with you." Katie smiled at him. "I am glad. I did not want to scare anyone. I just wanted to provide some context. Humans are not as scary as the statistics make us sound." Professor Velnash chimed in. "I believe this has been an educational experience for everyone, myself included. Cadet Morrison, would you be willing to serve as a teaching assistant for future lectures about Deathworld species? I think having a first-hand perspective would benefit the students." "I would be honored," Katie said. "Though I should probably tell the other humans about this. They might want to participate too." "There are really 4 other humans here?" Vex asked. "Where are they?" "Greg is probably in the engineering workshop right now," Katie said. "He loves building things. Amy should be in the astrogation lab studying star charts. Carlos is usually in the language center working with translation algorithms. Lisa might be in the quantum mechanics lecture hall or the library." "What are they like?" Shira asked curiously. "Are they all similar to you?" Katie laughed. "Not really. Greg is very outgoing and jokes around a lot. Amy is quiet and serious, very focused on her work. Carlos loves learning new languages and can switch between them easily. Lisa is the smartest person I know, but she sometimes forgets to eat when she is deep in calculations. So humans have different personalities," Lux observed. "You are not all the same despite being the same species." "Not at all," Katie confirmed. "Every human is unique. We have different interests, different talents, different ways of thinking. That diversity is part of what makes humanity strong. We approach problems from different angles." Crix made a thoughtful chiming sound. "Your species works together despite being different. That is admirable. Many species struggle with diversity." "Humans struggled with it too," Katie admitted. "For a long time. We still do sometimes, but we are learning that differences make us stronger, not weaker. We are better when we include many perspectives." Beck spoke up. "I have been thinking about what you said earlier, about humans pushing through pain and injury. Is it true that your species can continue functioning with broken bones?" "It depends on which bones," Katie explained. "If you break a leg, walking is very difficult. But yes, people have walked on broken legs to get to safety. If you break an arm or ribs, you can usually still move around, though it is very painful. The human body has redundant systems. We can lose function in one part and compensate with others." "That is remarkable," Vex said. "Most species would be completely incapacitated by such injuries." "Evolution made us tough," Katie said. "Earth required it. But we also developed medicine to help us heal. We set broken bones so they heal straight. We have pain medication to make recovery easier. We have surgeries to repair damage. We do not just endure injuries. We actively work to heal from them. Shira asked another question. What is it like living on Earth? Do you constantly feel in danger? Katie shook her head. Not at all. Humans have made Earth much safer over time. We build sturdy houses that protect us from weather. We have heat in winter and cooling in summer. We have systems to predict dangerous weather and warn people. We have medicine to treat diseases. We have laws to prevent violence. Most humans live their entire lives without experiencing any real danger. But the wildlife, Shira pressed, the predators and venomous creatures. They mostly avoid humans now, Katie explained. And we know how to avoid them. Do not swim in waters where sharks hunt. Do not hike in areas with bears without taking precautions. Do not handle snakes unless you know they are not venomous. Basic safety knowledge keeps most people safe. Lux asked. What do humans do for entertainment if not all of it is dangerous extreme sports? Katie grinned. Oh, we do lots of things. We watch stories performed by actors. We read books. We play games, both physical and mental. We make art. We listen to music. We spend time with friends and family. We cook interesting foods. We explore nature. We learn new skills. Entertainment varies widely based on personal interest. Can you tell us about human food? Crix asked. Is it true you eat a wide variety of things? Very wide, Katie confirmed. Humans are omnivores, so we eat both plants and meat. Different cultures developed different cuisines based on what was available in their environment. Some humans eat spicy foods. Some prefer mild. Some are vegetarians who only eat plants. Others love meat. Food is very important in human culture. We bond over shared meals. Vex made an interested sound. Food as a social activity. That is similar to my species. We believe eating together builds trust. Humans think so too, Katie said warmly. Some of our most important conversations happen over meals. Business deals, family discussions, first meetings with potential friends. Breaking bread together, as we say, is a sign of goodwill. Professor Velnash had been listening quietly but now spoke up. I am realizing how much I missed in my initial lecture. I focused entirely on the dangers of Earth and the survival adaptations of humans. I did not consider the culture, the emotions, the social structures. That was a significant oversight. You were teaching from available data, Katie said diplomatically. Most information about Earth probably focuses on the planetary conditions and biological facts. The cultural aspects are harder to quantify. Nevertheless, I should have been more balanced, the professor insisted. I portrayed humans as dangerous predators without showing the full picture. That was poor teaching. Maybe it was a good teaching moment, though, Vex suggested. We all learned an important lesson today. That we should not judge beings based solely on their origins or capabilities. That there is always more to the story. Shira's voice stalks waved in agreement. I will never forget this lecture. Not because of the frightening statistics, but because we got to talk with Katie. She made humans real instead of just theoretical threats. That means a lot, Katie said, feeling emotion tighten her throat. She had been so worried about how this day would go, but it seemed to be ending well. Lux glowed brighter. Would you really be willing to do a presentation about human art and music? I would love to attend that. Absolutely, Katie said. We could do it in one of the common areas. Make it open to any students who want to come. I could bring my guitar. Guitar? Several students asked at once. A musical instrument, Katie explained. It has strings that you pluck or strum to make sounds. I have been playing since I was 10 years old. I brought it with me from Earth. You create music yourself? Crick sounded amazed. Not just listen to recordings? Many humans play instruments or sing, Katie said. Making music is a common hobby. It is a way to express feelings and share joy with others. Vex spoke thoughtfully. The more we learn about humans, the more complex you seem. You are warriors and artists, survivors and dreamers, logical and emotional. You contain contradictions. That is what makes us human, Katie agreed. We are not simple beings. We are messy and complicated and full of surprises. But I think that is, Part 5. Katie found the other humans in their usual meeting spot. It was a quiet corner of the Academy's recreation area, where they gathered every evening to share their days and remind themselves they were not alone. The spot overlooked a window showing the stars outside the station. Earth was too far away to see, but looking at the stars made them feel closer to home. Greg was there first, as always. He was a tall human with dark hair and an easy smile. He worked in engineering and loved taking things apart to see how they worked. Amy sat beside him, studying star charts on her personal device. She had short blonde hair and rarely spoke unless she had something important to say. Carlos was practicing pronunciation of a Zynthian dialect, his lips forming impossible sounds. Lisa had her nose in a quantum physics textbook, one hand absently reaching for a snack that was not there. They all looked up when Katie approached. Greg grinned at her. "Hey Katie, how was xenobiology? Learn anything interesting about aliens?" "Actually," Katie said, sitting down heavily, "I learned what aliens think about humans. That got everyone's attention." Amy put down her star charts. Carlos stopped his language exercises. Lisa even looked up from her book. "What happened?" Lisa asked, her analytical mind already working through possibilities. Katie explained the lecture. The description of Earth as a death world, the detailed analysis of human capabilities, the fear in the student's eyes, and finally her decision to reveal herself. "You what?" Greg sat up straight. "You told them you were human? In front of the whole class?" "I had to," Katie said. "They were talking about us like we were monsters. I could not just sit there and let them think humans were mindless killing machines." Amy frowned thoughtfully. "How did they react?" "Panic at first," Katie admitted. "One student fainted. Several activated shields. But then we talked. I answered questions. By the end, some of them understood that humans are more than just dangerous predators." Carlos leaned forward with interest. "What kinds of questions did they ask?" "Everything," Katie said. "About hunting and pain tolerance and why we take risks. About art and music and family. About emotions and culture and what we fear. They wanted to understand us. And do they?" Lisa asked. "Understand us?" "A little better, I think," Katie replied. "At least a few of them do. But word is spreading fast. By tomorrow, everyone will know there are humans here." The group sat in silence for a moment, processing this information. They had known this moment would come eventually, but none of them had expected it to happen so suddenly. "Well," Greg said finally, "I guess we are not keeping a low profile anymore." "Are you angry at me?" Katie asked quietly. "I know we were supposed to stay under the radar." "Not angry," Amy said immediately. "You did what you thought was right. We would have done the same. Besides," Carlos added, "we could not hide forever. Better to control the narrative ourselves than let rumors spread." Lisa nodded in agreement. "From a strategic standpoint, your approach was sound. You provided accurate information and demonstrated non-hostile behavior. That creates a positive framework for future interactions." "That is one way to put it," Katie said with a small laugh. Greg stood up and stretched. "So what happens now? Do we all come out as humans? Make it a whole thing?" "Professor Velnash wants to update the curriculum," Katie said. "Include more balanced information about Earth and humanity." The professor asked if I would help as a teaching assistant. I think the professor would be happy to have all of us participate. "I could do that," Carlos said thoughtfully. "My xenolinguistics professor has been very interested in human language evolution. This might be a good opportunity to share more information." Amy spoke up. "My astrogation instructor knows I am human. We have discussed Earth's position in the galaxy and potential routes for future human space travel. I could offer to give a presentation about human space exploration history. Engineering students would probably love to hear about human tool development," Greg said, warming to the idea. "We went from stone axes to spacecraft in a few thousand years. That is pretty impressive." "And I can discuss human contributions to theoretical physics," Lisa added. "Einstein, Hawking, Feynman. We have produced significant thinkers despite being from a pre-contact world." Katie felt relief wash over her. They were not angry. They were ready to step forward together. "So we are doing this?"
All of us?
"We are doing this," Greg confirmed. The others nodded in agreement. The next few weeks transformed the academy. Katie and the other humans became something between celebrities and curiosities. Students approached them constantly with questions. Some were still nervous, but most were genuinely interested in learning about humanity and Earth. Katie organized her first Earth Hour presentation in a large common area. She had expected maybe 20 students. Over 100 showed up. She talked about Earth's geography, showing images of mountains and oceans and forests. She explained different climates and ecosystems. She showed pictures of Earth's animals, which caused both horror and delight. Then she brought out her guitar. The acoustic instrument looked primitive compared to the holographic and digital music systems most species used. But when Katie played, the room fell silent. The simple sounds of strings being plucked resonated in a way that needed no translation. Music was universal. She sang a song her mother used to sing to her, a gentle melody about stars and dreams and finding your way home. Her voice wavered slightly with emotion, but she pushed through. When she finished, the room was quiet for a long moment. Then students began making sounds of appreciation in their various languages. "That was beautiful," Lux said, the Polarian's glow pulsing warmly. "The instrument is so simple, but the sound is so complex. How does it work?" Katie explained about strings and vibrations and resonance. She let interested students carefully touch the guitar and feel the strings vibrate. She taught them a simple chord progression. The mixture of species trying to play a human instrument created some interesting sounds, but everyone was smiling or making their species equivalent. Greg's engineering presentation was equally popular. He brought examples of human tools through history: stone axes, bronze swords, steel engines, computer chips. He explained how humans started with the simplest tools and built increasingly complex technology. He discussed problem-solving and innovation and the human drive to create. "We are not naturally good at anything," Greg explained to his audience. "We are not the strongest or fastest or smartest creatures, but we are very good at making tools that compensate for our weaknesses. We turned our limitations into motivation to innovate." A Xanthari engineering student asked, "Is it true humans went to their moon using computers less powerful than modern personal devices?" "Absolutely true," Greg confirmed. The Apollo guidance computer had less processing power than a basic calculator today. But it was enough. Humans are very good at doing more with less. We are efficient problem solvers. Amy's astrogation presentation focused on human space exploration. She showed pictures of early rockets that looked frighteningly primitive. She explained the risks the first astronauts took, flying in vehicles that had significant chances of exploding or failing. "Why did they do it?" a student asked. "Why risk their lives for space exploration?" Amy smiled. "Because humans dream of the stars. We looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. We wanted to know so badly that we were willing to risk everything to find out. That curiosity, that drive to explore, that is fundamental to being human." Carlos gave a fascinating lecture on human languages. He explained that Earth had over 7,000 distinct languages. He demonstrated how different they sounded, switching between English, Spanish, Mandarin, Arabic, and Swahili with ease. He discussed how language shaped thought and culture. "Language is how humans share ideas across time and space," Carlos explained. "A person can write something down and someone else can read it hundreds of years later. Stories pass from generation to generation. Knowledge accumulates. That is how human civilization advanced so quickly." Lisa's quantum physics presentation went over most students' heads, but the few who understood were amazed. She discussed human physicists and their contributions to understanding the universe. She explained concepts with a clarity that made complex ideas accessible. "Humans are relatively new to understanding quantum mechanics," Lisa said. "We only really began studying it in the last 100 years. But we have made remarkable progress. Being from a death world did not limit our ability to understand the universe. If anything, it motivated us to understand it better. As weeks turned into months, something remarkable happened. The fear surrounding the human students gradually transformed into acceptance, then into genuine friendship. Students who had been terrified at first now sat with them at meals, asked them questions about Earth, shared stories about their own worlds. Katie found herself part of a regular study group with Vex, Shira, Lux, and Crix. They met several times a week to work on assignments together. The different perspectives made their discussions richer. Vex's logical approach balanced Katie's intuitive thinking. Shira's caution complemented Katie's willingness to take risks. Lux's creativity inspired everyone. Crix's attention to detail caught mistakes the others missed. One evening, the study group was working on a particularly difficult